Hello and welcome. Today I want to talk about the Bear Grylls Ultimate Knife. Now, Bear Grylls himself is a controversial figure to some degree. In the outdoor community there are some strong opinions. I'm going to try to be non-biased on this particular subject. So, I was gifted this knife, the Bear Grylls Ultimate Knife. I was gifted it by my wife, so I've used it, and I've used it for around 4 years, and it's been pretty much my main knife. I've got a couple of others, but I've used this one the most. It was my only knife for about a year or two, and so I want to give an opinion on it. So firstly, let's just run through the gubbins. This particular knife, as I say, it's the Ultimate. It's a 3/4 tang, so it tapers off around 3/4 up the blade. We have a rubberized handle, which actually serves as a non-slip handle really well. That is probably one of my favourite things about it, that it is really comfortable, and you can grip and you can wave it about and chop stuff, and I've never ever had it slip out my hand. The blade itself is a drop point blade, which you can see just drops off here. This is the half serrated, half straight edge carbon steel blade. So we've also got this squared off part of the blade for striking a fire steel against. So the sheath that you get with it features a number of things. Firstly, we've got the priorities of survival. Can't say I've ever taken this out, maybe once. It's pretty unnecessary. You got a whistle on here which is pretty loud. Never used the whistle, but this is a survival knife, or it's billed as a survival knife. So if I was lost and needed to signal, that would be pretty handy. So while it's quite redundant most of the time, it could come into its own, and it just dangles on there. It causes no bother, and you know, it's fine. You get a fire steel in it. I've worn mine right down. It's quite thin now. It's a good fire steel. It's quite short, but it gives off lots of sparks. It's quite a soft one, so it's easy to use. Hidden underneath this part of the blade, you got a diamond sharpening stone, and you know, I've used that out and about, and it's fine. As for the sheath itself, it locks when you close it, and you know, it's pretty secure. It's easy enough to get out, and when it's in, it's in. You've got this bit of velcro here, so if you are not using it, it's just on your belt, you know, I do that up, and it's definitely not going anywhere. If I'm using it regularly for tasks, then it's open like that and everything is fine. The sheath, you know, it doesn't look the best, but it's functional. It serves its purpose. You've got a belt loop here for a normal hang. You've got 2 loops here for a sideways hang, however you prefer to use it. So this blade is 4 years old, right? It's still pretty sharp. I can't say that I look after my tools tremendously well. You know, I've been told off in comments of my videos for abusing this, because I've dug holes in the ground, you know, dug in the clay when I was digging and my shovel broke. You know, I use this to dig a hole for a fire pit. But my philosophy is it's a tool, and I'm going to use it. You know, it's not going to sit on a shelf and be looked at. You know, so I've battened wood, I've made feather sticks, I've chopped at things, I've built shelters. You know, the blade it's a little bit beaten up. There's a few little chips and dings in it, but you know, you just sharpen them out. It's you know, right now it's pretty sharp. The serrated bit never seems to dull. So if I've been using this for a couple of days without sharpening it, I find that, you know, the serrated part sort of saves the day in the end. When I first got it, I didn't like that serrated part. I wished that I'd got a complete straight edge blade, but over time I realised that for someone like me who doesn't look after things properly, you know, that's not a bad feature, because it just rips through stuff. The pommel, I heard reports when I first got this knife, I heard reports that the pommels fall off and this, that and the other, and that the steel's not very good and it will snap if you drop it. I haven't found any of these problems. Maybe, I think in the early models of this the pommel wasn't quite secured properly, but on mine I've had no issues, and I've hit things with it. The blade, you know, hasn't snapped on me. As I say, digging in stony ground, throwing it about, you know, I've dropped it, you know, it's fine. It's a functional knife. It does everything I've wanted it to do for 4 years, and it's still in reasonably good condition. You know, you got this grey coating on the blade. That's pretty much worn off now, so it's not a shiny colour. But you know, you've got the orange. If you drop it, you can see it. Do you know what I mean? I've got nothing really bad to say about it. You know, it's been a good knife. Yes, it looks a bit, you know, it looks a bit garish. You know, this isn't the most attractive thing, but for a functional tool, you know, nicely balanced, and cuts things, lights fires, chops things. You know, what more do you need? They say it's cheap Chinese steel, but never had an issue with it. So we'll do a bit of testing, shall we? So let's do a bit of throwing practice, shall we? Now obviously nobody recommends throwing a knife, but you know, we want to see how tough it is, so chuck it at something. Right, so we've thrown it about a little bit, and guess what? It hasn't fallen apart. So we'll batten a little bit of wood. Splitting wise, you know, it is what it is. Cutting wise, you know, you're going to get decent feather sticks. It does everything you ask it to do. You know, it's a reasonable feather stick. Hammering. Pommel's still on. So the blade's still in good shape. The pommel didn't fall off and the knife didn't snap when I started chucking it about. So as a knife, it's perfectly functional. Does it look good? Not really. But is it a decent tool? Yes, I believe it is. It's a little bit like driving a brand new Skoda. Not that Skoda are bad, but when I was a kid, they were the car not to have. You know, and not much more to say on it. You know, they're priced at, I think they're around £70. I think you probably get them cheaper, but I think on Amazon they're about £70. Are they worth £70? Probably not. They're probably the price is probably a little bit inflated due to the name that's attached to them. I think there's other Gerber models which are pretty much exactly the same, just without the name on them, and they're probably £20 cheaper. So it comes down to a personal choice. Would I go out and buy one? I don't think so, but having had one as a gift, I've loved it. You know, I would probably, if I was going to choose a Bear Grylls knife, I'd probably go for the Ultimate Pro, which is the next model up, which has a full tang rather than the 3/4 tapered. But as I say, there is nothing wrong with that knife. Nothing wrong with it at all, and I do like it. So that concludes my thoughts on the subject. Thank you very much for watching. I'd love to hear some feedback in the comments from anyone that has actually owned one of these knives, because there's an awful lot of Bear Grylls bashing goes on in the circles that I mix in online, and I think a lot of these people have probably never used one. So if you have one and you've used it, I'd be interested in your opinion. If you're thinking about buying one, look through the comments and see what the thoughts are of people that have actually used them, not the people that just say Bear Grylls is this, that and the other, because they're just spouting bile for the sake of it. But yeah, we all like to knock successful people, I suppose. But yeah, I'll be interested in your thoughts if you own one, or if you own any of the other ones. I know someone that's got the paracord knife, which I've never used. I've only ever experienced that one, and that one is okay. Yeah, I mean, if you want to see that knife being used properly in everyday use, then look through some of my videos for the last 4 years, and it'll, you know, I use it in pretty much every single one. But yeah, that's about it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate your time. Have a good day. I'll see you soon.